What up, loved ones? It is Malik Loves Y'all here, and today's episode is all about ways that we can really connect with our students. Last time we looked at some attention getters that we can use. I hope y'all have been trying them out. I hope they've been working well for you. I know that there's some of my favorites, but these are a little bit deeper ways to dive in and build genuine connections with your students. Some of you have reached out to me and been like, hey, thank you so much. I have students that cuss me out during the day, right? Or I'm constantly having to break up fights, or I'm with students that feel really disassociated, like they don't even care whether I'm there or whether they're there or not. And so these are some of the ways to kind of break through that and really be able to not only get to know your students, but allow them to get to know you. And when I find that when you build a solid connection with a child, then when a difficult moment arises, or maybe they're feeling challenged by something that's happening in the classroom, rather than snapping or rather than walking off or rather than raising their voice, they're more willing to connect with you and speak with you and listen to what you have to say. And then in turn, you understand a little bit better where they're coming from, right? So there's not so much contention there. Teachers will come into the classroom and maybe they've had difficult moments with the same student, right? You might have that one kid every single day that you can already anticipate a problem happening with, right? But what happens is when you are expecting a student to act out, and it might be with good reason, right? It might be because they've been acting out every single day the whole entire year. But when you expect that from them, they're gonna rise to that expectation, right? So some of this is us shifting our perspective and how we see our students, but then some of it also is embodying some new lessons and new techniques to really be able to, like I said, more deeply understand and connect with them. But let's get into it. Here are 3 ways that you can more deeply connect with your students. All right, so the first way to connect with your students, take note of what they like. What are they naturally gravitating towards? It might be a certain TV show, right? Or a movie that just came out. What are your students talking about when they enter in the room? Take note of that and find ways to weave that in, whether it be into the lesson plan or in conversation with them, right? If the student is having a difficult time, sometimes redirecting the conversation from a difficult topic into something that they really love, you can see their energy, their attitude shift in that moment. Or if you're not sure, being curious, right? Asking them, hey, what are you really into nowadays? Like, what do you love? I know for me, when I was a kid, I really loved Pokemon. I really loved that, right? Like, you start sharing a little bit of yourself, but being inquisitive, being open to asking questions about who they are, and really checking your tone when you do this, right? Sometimes I know for me growing up, and even still now, if I'm with somebody who I see as an elder or an authority figure, sometimes a question, it could be a genuine place of inquisition of wanting to get to know me. But depending on what the tone is, I might feel like, are they probing me for something, right? Like, is this going to be something they're going to use against me later, right? So be aware of that. Be cognizant of the relationship that you currently have with your student, especially if you're trying to go and be inquisitive and learn more about them, right? Make sure that you're really open, inviting, and things like body language, things like tone really play into this so that you can make them know off top, hey, this is like me coming to you. You have the answer. I'm not going to use this against you. So be really cognizant of your body language and your tone as you are inquisitive about what it is that your students are loving. The second tip is allow the students to take control of the lesson plan. So this kind of ties into the first one. If you know that students are really particularly interested in something, allow them an opportunity to come up and share their thoughts and their insights in a way that resonates with them. Because chances are they're closer to the rest of the class than you are, right? In age and experience. So if you allow them to direct the lesson plan, there might be a way that they get more into it for themselves. They always say the best way to learn is to teach, right? So if you allow a student to come up and teach a concept, then they are having an extra opportunity to really embody it, to really know the lesson from an inside out perspective, right? But then secondly, what that does is that allows their classmates an opportunity to see like, oh man, like this is our classroom, like we get to guide this, right? And so there's a new level of ownership that comes into the room when students know that they have an opportunity to guide the way that things are going. So definitely allow your students an opportunity to take control of the lesson plan, make it their own, have them come up and teach it in a way that is unique to them. And that allows them ownership over the class, right? But also an opportunity for them to really embody the knowledge by teaching it. All right, this next one, number 3, is perhaps the biggest one, and it is a through line through the previous two, but being vulnerable, right? Showing yourself as a human being. So if you're specifically always kind of an authoritarian figure in your classroom, letting your students know that you don't have the answer to something, letting your students know that you are feeling overwhelmed. So allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to inform the students that you don't have it all figured out, or that there might be a moment where you are overwhelmed or that you are anxious. It allows you to deeply connect with them and expose your humanity, right? Also, one other thing that I'll add is part of being vulnerable is admitting when you're wrong, especially if you were in a moment maybe earlier in the week where you had to discipline some students, and maybe you weren't super fair with the way that you handled the situation, especially if it is with those students that you kind of expect every single day are going to give you problems, right? Like I said in the beginning, when we expect that, I think we start to not give them the benefit of the doubt, right? There's a little bit of bias that comes into the situation. So we're already on edge. We're looking for an opportunity to get them out of the classroom, right? So if that resonates with you, if you know you have that one student, whether or not you feel like you handled something the right way, I think this is an opportunity to know that you might treat them a little bit harsher than you would treat your favorite student, right? And so going to that student who you feel like gives you a hard time and just being like, hey, like, I know I've been tough on you. I'm sorry, that wasn't right. You know, sometimes I just get a little overwhelmed and I'm not really sure what to do to help you in these situations, you know, when you get frustrated. So maybe ask them, like, what can I do to help you out? Or what are the things that make you feel the most frustrated when we're together in class? And then at that point, really taking the back seat and allowing yourself to listen, right? If we ask the right questions, you will find that even the most difficult student will open up. They will give you the keys to being able to connect with them, right? And so it all starts with that moment of vulnerability and admitting that maybe you didn't handle everything in the best way possible. So sometimes starting clean and also just coming at it as like, I don't know everything, I'm sorry, I didn't handle the situation in the right way, I think also builds a level of respect and trust in the relationship that needs to be present if you are going to be able to connect with your students. All right, so I would highly recommend, especially for those of you who have those difficult students, whether or not you feel justified in the actions that you take, being curious, being inquisitive, and also being humble and vulnerable can go a long, long ways to build relationships with your class, and also make your experience in class a little bit more enjoyable. All right, so try these things out, please, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or all of them. Let me know how it goes. Use that comment section below, all right? Let's make a conversation out of this. Let's build community. I don't want you to just see these things through the screen, right? Like, let's really interact with one another. Let's build. So try them out. Let me know how it goes. And always remember, Malik loves y'all. Peace.